Students can get simple columnar and simple cuboidal mixed up because sometimes, like I said, they get flattened in the process of making the slide. A cube and a column look very different, yeah, but sometimes they don't when things get smushed. But what you have to remember is that a cuboidal cell will have its nucleus in the center, whereas a columnar cell will always have their nuclei closer to that basal surface, not the surface that lines the open space, right? Not the apical, but the basal surface. These pictures here are from the digestive system, which is lined mostly with simple columnar from stomach to rectum. And you can see all of these cells lined up here, and I'm highlighting a line of their nuclei down at the basal surface. And so that means when I'm highlighting in green here, this area here would all be the lumen. The apical surface of these cells is against the lumen, and the basal surfaces are below it. And let me highlight the basal surface for you. Here's one basal surface, and here's a number, no, another. So, sometimes in one picture, we might be looking at two lines of simple cells. In the digestive system and in many mucous membranes, remember, mucous membranes are open to the outside, there are cells that are called mucus cells. They used to be called goblet cells. I like their name mucus cells because that's what they make, mucus. Mucus doesn't like to take up a stain as much as some of the other things like cell membranes and nuclei. So mucus cells, they look like these scattered blobs in among the simple columnar cells. Ha! You thought this slide was going to be stratified columnar. It's not. It kind of is, kind of. That's what pseudo means in the prefix of this word here. It's kind of stratified. Pseudo-stratified columnar has columnar-shaped cells, and they look stratified, but they are not. They're not. That's not many layers there. I know it looks like it, but it's not. The basal surface of each cell touches the basal layer, touches that basement membrane, which is like the barrier between the epithelial tissues and the connective tissues below it. This tissue really asks you to think of how these cells would look in a 3D presentation, right? Because here in a 2D slide, it's hard to visualize that. These column-shaped cells are not lined up in a row, right? They're not like that in simple columnar. They're all tangled together, like this damn wind chime that I have that has these strings of little bells hanging. I fight with it every summer. Another way, a student told me this, another way to think of pseudostratified columnar is a collection of really tall buildings, all columns, that have kind of fallen down due to an earthquake, King Kong, whatever force of destruction you like, but they all maintain their foundations with the ground. So they're kind of like toppled all over each other. These slides here are from the trachea, and they all have a feature on them that we will not see on any other epithelial cells. These all have cilia on them. Cilia are like little projections, much smaller than villi in the small intestine. And cilia, they all wave in a coordinated fashion. And in the trachea, they move mucus superiorly. So these cilia, they're kind of like a mucousy shag carpet that waves in the wind. And so to make the name of this tissue even more complicated, its name is pseudostratified ciliated columnar epithelia with mucus cells scattered between it. I just want to highlight some of them over here on the left.